The object types in GraphQL allow us to create data that makes our application, and almost all the type we are going to define will be the object types, okay? Those types have a name and they describe their fields as well. So let's create our first object type and we'll call it film. So inside here, type definition, and below of the type query, let's create our type. And just say type, and let's call it film with capital F. And let's copy all the same fields here that we have already and pass it inside this object type. We start with the type keyword, then we choose a type name, which in our case here is the film, with an uppercase first letter. Then we pass all fields we need. I want just to mention that we will have uppercase first letter for all types we define in GraphQL, and for types of fields as well, like string, integer, as I mentioned before, because it's built in. And the next step here is to add a movie query with lowercase that's written our object type, which is the film, and should be required. The next step is to create a resolver function to return hard-coded film data. Inside the query, let's add the function and we'll call it movie that's return film object. And inside this return object, we'll pass all dummy data that we have already. And the ID here, let's pass a simple string with 1. But when we have a real database, this value will be generated inside it. Let's save our code and go to the Explorer. Now we need to select movie query with all fields. And let's run this query. And as expected, we get back the real data object that contains movie fields. Okay. Now I have a small optional challenge for you, and I want you to create a new brand object type, which is the user, and set up a query and resolver for that user. Here is the instruction for what I'd like you to do exactly. Create a user type, then add non-nullable fields, the ID and name, email, age, then define a query user with lowercase, of course, that's return a single user with capital U, of course, then set up a resolver function to return user data. This your work, and now take your time to finish your task and come back to do this challenge together. Welcome back, and I hope everything went well for you. So let's create our new object type, which is the user. We start with type keyword, then the name of our type, which in this case is the user, and we pass the ID of type ID, name of type string, and email will be of type string as well. The age will be an integer. Next step is to extend our query in type definition by adding user type that's return our user custom object. And the last step here in our side resolvers, let's set up a user function to return user object fields, and let's return some dummy data. The ID, let's give it string with 1, the name, Adam, email, adam@email.com, and age of 26. For the ID, we pass a simple string for now, but when we have a real database, we'll generate this ID inside it automatically. Now save your work again, and let's jump to the Explorer. Let's select query user and select all fields. Run the query, and as expected, it's worked just fine. We can toggle between queries inside the Explorer editor by clicking inside of single query we want to execute. And the Explorer helps us to manage many queries at once by keeping active query in focus and ignore others. So you know always which context you are working with.